Hello again, this is video number 4. The reason I'm doing another video is, as I said, we've got lots of stories to tell, and I left my last video on the point that I was remarried, I'd found my soulmate, and this year in August would have been married 6 years. But that isn't the end of the story. In fact, it's not even the beginning of the story. I need to take you back to when I moved back to my hometown as a single woman with a baby after I had divorced my husband. Now, I divorced my last husband on the grounds of unreasonable conduct. The reason I did this, he started the process of the solicitors in the very first beginning, in the first place, but that's another story. But in the end, I was the one who, through wanting the marriage to succeed, tried everything I could, and got to the point where, because I'd tried everything, I could actually hold my hands up in front of my daughter when she's old enough to understand, and say I tried everything to keep the marriage together, because I can honestly say I did. But once I found out the reason why it wasn't going to work was because of the things he was up to, all the things he accused me of, he was actually doing himself. Surprise! So, wanted to divorce him, couldn't divorce him because I couldn't prove the facts, so had to divorce him on different grounds. The reason I did this was because I didn't want it to happen further on down in my life and regurgitate all of the things that had happened right up to the point of beyond my daughter's birth. I'd missed my pregnancy, all the pleasures that somebody gets when they're pregnant, all the joys they experience when there's a partner that they're married to, or the partner that they decide to make a family with, are there to go through everything with them. I had nothing. All I did was have meeting after meeting to try and keep my family, my husband and myself together, and obviously my family together, because they were going to have a baby together, and it didn't work. So I'm surprised the stress I was put under that I didn't lose her, but I think it's because I kept extremely calm throughout, deliberately, because I didn't want to stress out. I wanted a clear head, and I think I was pretty calm through the whole thing, although very concerned that it wasn't going to work, and it turned out that it didn't work, so we ended up divorcing on the grounds of unreasonable conduct. Now, back in my hometown, as I said, and I meet this wonderful person who's been introduced to me by a mutual friend, a mutual sister friend in the congregation, and we decide that we like each other. And it's more than that, because we suddenly click, something goes click, and we were soulmates, and we fell in love, and realised it was more than that. We were meant to be together, and we wanted to get married, and we wanted to do this. However, complications now arise. You see, I'm not scripturally free because I haven't been able to prove my husband's unfaithfulness. Therefore, even though I'm free in the eyes of Caesar, I'm not free in the eyes of the scriptures and the society's view. So I, Mark and myself, sat and we spoke to the elders and said, what do we do from here? And they said, we advise you to go your separate ways. Okay, well, that's not going to happen, because we're both adults, we're both two very independent people who've gone through much in our lives, and I'm not about to have people tell me what to do. So we said we don't want to accept that. We want to get married, and we want to bring our children together. Our children are extremely well, and we want to make two families one, and give our children some stability within the organisation and bring them up as we'd like to within the congregation. Nope, can't do that. You've got to go wait on Jehovah, was what we were told. You must wait for the truth to come out, even if it takes years. Okay, well, that's still not going to happen, because we love each other and we'd like to get married, and can I suggest you go back to the elders in my original town where all of my divorce happened, and speak to them, because they too knew what was going on. But obviously, because I had no proof, it takes one or two more witnesses, as they say. What, do you want me to stand there with the camera? I'll go and stand with the camera. Not a problem. But unfortunately, not practical. So, didn't have any proof. So, I was put in the position of still, Mark and myself sat there, listened. What do we do from here? Where do we go from here? We didn't know where to go. So we went ahead and we went against the elders. Wrong thing to do, naughty people. Against the elders. Whoa, you wicked people. And we got married. And needless to say, we got married, and within a few weeks we were disfellowshipped for being married. Well, that's what we were told when we went to a judicial. It's not because you are now married, it's because you didn't accept counsel. Well, the counsel we were given was to wait, and we were given counsel to not get married. So we didn't wait. Okay, we got married. So it's because we've married that we've been disfellowshipped. So we thought, fair enough, but we are together, and Jehovah knew we were free to marry, and as far as we were concerned, he's our judge. So we were hoping that Holy Spirit would work in this situation and guide brothers to realise that they needed to just leave it in the hands of Jehovah. And if we were to be punished for being married, that it would happen. And obviously we were punished because they decided they were going to disfellowship us. So we were disfellowshipped. But we were there for the announcement at the Kingdom Hall with our children either side of us, and every meeting after that for nearly 3 years. 3 years. Every single meeting. We did not miss one. Not one. Well, there you go. That's the first time in my entire life that I hadn't even missed a meeting. Interesting. Sat at the back, totally ignored, totally shunned. Even the children weren't spoken to. Even the children got ignored. They weren't disfellowshipped. They were far too young to be disfellowshipped, but they were still treated like we were. And we named ourselves Scum. We felt like scum. We felt like pond scum. But we accepted it. We went away. We went along, and we ended up changing congregations. And the reason we did this was because we had a couple of reviews with the elders, and both times they said our attitudes weren't right. Well, we're not going to change from being married, are we? Our attitudes are going to be exactly the same as they were when we first got married. We love each other. We're now married. We want to stay married. Thank you very much. So our attitudes weren't going to change. Sorry, but I'm not going to divorce him. Hang on, you disfellowship me for divorcing him anyway if I did it wrong, because he's not having an affair and I'm not having an affair. So I'm not going to leave my husband and he's not going to leave me. In fact, one elder, which my husband to this day actually finds it a very hurtful thing, sat in our own home while going through this and said, "You're in an adulterous marriage." Okay, well, when does it stop being an adulterous marriage? Can I ask you? That's quite a thing to say, really. But anyway, my husband will probably go into something more than that, because he was really livid with that comment and wanted to throw them out of the house, which he didn't, because he's far too polite for that. But fuming inside, fuming inside. Anyway, so they've gone. We've had several meetings, and we weren't getting anywhere. So we spoke to an elder in another congregation who suggested moving to his congregation, which we did. And they, on our behalf, after meeting with us, 3 elders were assigned to Mark and myself to discuss the fact that we were disfellowshipped and where do we go from here. Our children weren't ignored in that congregation. They were accepted and welcomed by quite a few, which I thank the congregation for that, because they really did show our children that not all the congregations were going to be like that. The elders there eventually got the elders in our original congregation to agree that we would be alright to being reinstated, which we were. And then once we were reinstated, we moved back to a congregation within our own town, because we'd had to leave the town that we were in just to get away from everything. And we went into a congregation where my auntie, my uncle, and my brother and his wife and his children, and my cousins, and my grandmother, and my mother, we're all in. So members of my family reaching about 17, all in all. All of which are now totally shunning me because we're now walked away. But anyway, that's later on in the story. It's now 10 minutes into my thing, so I'll have to watch the time here, and I might have to split this up. So we're now reinstated. We're now back in our hometown, and we're going to accommodation, and things are okay. But do you know what? When you've been through lots of judicial meetings, and you've been through lots of experiences where you've looked at it from different viewpoints and with different eyes, I think that's what helps you see things clearly and the way things are handled. And we were trusting in Jehovah all the way along, and we were ignoring how we felt about certain people in a way that we'd been treated, and even forgave them even though they didn't ask for forgiveness. We just got on with it, you know. That's what we do, that's us. We don't hold any malice or horrible feelings towards anybody, because there's no point. What is the point in that? There's no point. So anyway, we're now reinstated. We're a family. We're back in the religion, and we're going to meetings. And you know what? We started to take a really good look. It was a blood card, because we obviously hadn't had a blood card our entire time that we were disfellowshipped. My husband and I will probably talk about the actual judicial hearing that we had before we were disfellowshipped once we were married, because they were asking questions they shouldn't have been asking. But there you go. I want to talk about that more with you, because I think you'll find that very interesting. And yeah, my husband even took notes on our entire experience through over the 6 years, writing a journal, keeping a log of everything that had happened to us. And when you look back at it, you think, good grief, that'd make a great book. Because there's a lot of detail in there, and a lot of things that people would be shocked about, and people would be completely bamboozled, especially people that have no idea about what the Jehovah's Witnesses organisation's like, and they're watching these videos thinking, oh good grief. I hope it puts you off, because there's some horrific things that have gone on, there really are, and a lot that don't get covered over and don't get exposed. And I think we've got quite a few who'd like to do that too, so this is a perfect opportunity to do that. Not naming any names, but they know who they are, and that's what we like. But anyway, with regards to being back in the organisation, blood issue has been started looking into it. We were asked to sign this. You have to choose fractions. What's fractions? I've never heard of fractions. Okay, and some of the sisters, older sisters in the congregation, were completely bamboozled by this. What's a fraction? Can't I just sign it and say no blood, like I always have? No, sister, you have to decide what you would like. Well, the more you look, you have to look when you have children. You have to know what you're going to allow your children to have. It's not just you, it's not just your husband, it's your children as well. And I think that's why we decided to look into it. And Mark's a great reader, and he loves information, and when he gets his teeth into something he doesn't let go. And so that's where it started, our journey. And I gave him a dog's life at the beginning, going, you can't give the children blood. And I found out something quite amazing, which I'll tell you in another video, about me when I was a baby and when I was born. Maybe that's why my family have never really looked at me a certain way. It explains a lot, but I'll tell you about that in another one. I'm going to leave it here, and we'll fill in all the other little gaps when I get an opportunity, because I'm going to run out of time. So I shall say goodbye, and I shall do either a number 5, or we'll see how we go. Anyway, thanks for listening, and hopefully catch up with you soon. Take care. Bye bye.